Jake sat in his office, reviewing the papers for his latest win. An unjustly fired migrant worker reinstated with full compensation. At 42, he still had the energy and passion that had propelled him to the top of his field. "Great job, babe." Allison's voice came over the phone, full of pride. "You prove that justice still exists." It had been 10 years since they built what seemed like an ideal life. Jake, a top human rights lawyer, and Allison, a respected sociology professor, both successful in their fields. Their shared ideals, marriage equality and public morality, had been the foundation of their careers and their relationship. "Let's celebrate tonight," Jake suggested. "I'll bring the wine, you pick the restaurant." "Actually, let's stay in," Allison replied. "I'll cook something special, my way of congratulating you." Jake smiled, appreciating the small gestures that had sustained their connection all these years. That night, their home felt like a sanctuary, a cozy country house in the suburbs filled with photos and quotes that reflected their shared values. "You're home," Allison greeted him, dressed in a floral apron. "I made pasta, salad, and your favorite wine." Jake hugged her, thankful for the love and support she always gave him. As they sat down to eat, Allison casually mentioned their upcoming anniversary. "It's next week, right?" "Of course, 10 years," Jake smiled. "Feels like yesterday." He squeezed her hand, but noticed a hint of tiredness in her that he couldn't quite place. "Maybe we should get away like last year," Jake suggested. "How about Hawaii? I have a conference there." Allison's expression tightened for a moment. "Maybe later," she replied, the tone off. The rest of the meal passed uneventfully, but Jake couldn't shake the feeling something was amiss. Allison's behavior had subtly shifted, and he assumed it was work-related. A few days later, Jake waited for Allison outside the university after her lecture. They were heading to Tom's campaign rally, an event Jake had been looking forward to. Tom had been his best friend for years, and they had always helped each other professionally. While waiting, Allison's colleague, Linda, approached. "Is she still delayed?" "She said she'd be here by 3, Jake replied, glancing at his watch. Linda seemed concerned. "She's been late a lot lately," Linda observed. "She's been swamped with new projects." Jake smiled politely, but Linda's words lingered in his mind, adding to his unease. When Allison arrived, she rushed over, kissed Jake on the cheek, and quickly asked Linda for survey results. There was something in her demeanor, distracted, distant. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. "She's acting strange," he remarked as they headed to the car. "It's just work stuff," Allison brushed it off. "Let's not talk about that now. Tom's waiting." But Jake couldn't let it go. "Is your conference still in a month? Are you still planning to go?" "Yes, but I'd love for you to come with me." "But you're always so busy," she replied, her tone light. But there was something unspoken. At Tom's event, Allison quickly detached from Jake to talk to his assistants. Jake stayed behind watching her. Tom greeted him warmly, as always. "Are you ready for the primaries?" Jake asked. "Yeah, I've got a good shot. Your work is exactly what I want to fight for," Tom replied, nodding toward Allison. "She's been helping with sociological research." "She's smart," Jake said, proud, but he couldn't ignore how Allison kept her distance from him. As the night went on, Jake noticed Allison's phone buzz with a message from T. When she returned, she quickly threw the phone into her purse, but Jake couldn't shake the feeling something was wrong. They left quietly, and Allison seemed unusually distant. A week later, Jake arrived home late after a long day at work. The house was silent. He noticed Allison's phone on the couch, and out of habit picked it up. A message from T2 flashed on the screen. Jake froze. "T2?" He unlocked the phone and found flirty messages between Allison and Tom. Intimate conversations, plans to meet, pictures. It was clear they had been having an affair for almost a year. His heart sank. "This can't be," he whispered. The betrayal was undeniable. Allison walked in as he sat there holding her phone. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice trembling. Jake stood up, fury building inside him. "What am I doing? What are you doing? How could you lie to me for a year with my best friend?" He threw the phone down and it hit the floor. Allison rushed to him, but he pushed her away. "Move," he shouted. "Jake, let me explain," she pleaded, tears welling in her eyes. "Explain what?" he yelled, his voice breaking. "A year of lies with my best friend? What is there to explain?" "I didn't mean for it to happen," she stammered. "It was a mistake, but now it's too late." Jake's rage only intensified. "A mistake? After a year? With him? I didn't have enough attention," she cried. "You were always at work. Tom understood me." Jake clenched his fists. So, my work is to blame for your affair, is that it? Her silence answered him. He could feel the weight of it all. You can leave, Jake said, his voice cold. Please, Jake, let me explain, she begged. Leave, he repeated more firmly. She grabbed her things and, without another word, walked out. The door slammed behind her, and Jake was left standing in the silence, hollowed out by the betrayal. Jake sat in his dark office, replaying the events of the past days. His life had unraveled, his marriage shattered, trust destroyed. At midnight, he poured himself a glass of whiskey, something he rarely did. This can't be real, he muttered, staring into the glass. She always preached loyalty. We were supposed to change the world together. His thoughts drifted to their early days, full of idealism. Now his life felt like a nightmare. By 3 a.m., anger consumed him, and he called Tom, knowing it was pointless but needing to vent his rage. The call went to voicemail, and Jake shouted into it, "A year! You've been lying to me! I'm going to ruin your career!" He threw the phone aside, collapsing on the couch. Sick with anger and alcohol, he rushed to the bathroom to vomit. Looking in the mirror afterward, he barely recognized himself. Where's the confident lawyer I used to be? He thought. By morning, Jake lay in bed, surrounded by memories of Allison. The sheets still smelled like her, but he didn't have the strength to get rid of them. He closed his eyes, feeling empty, and drifted into a restless sleep. He woke to a call from Matt Garcia, his old friend turned private investigator. Jake, are you okay? Matt asked, noticing his voice was strained. No, Jake replied, voice raw. He explained everything. Allison's affair with Tom, his world crashing down. Matt listened, offering calm advice. Don't act on emotion. You have resources. Plan this out. Jake's anger flared. I want to destroy them both. Calm down. You need evidence for both divorce and revenge. Without it, you're just shouting. Jake reluctantly agreed. Matt suggested he start gathering evidence, especially about Tom's potential corruption with university funds. You need proof beyond texts, Matt said. Jake's first instinct was to file for divorce. He couldn't live with the betrayal. He tried calling Allison multiple times, but she ignored him. Finally, she texted, I'm with a friend, don't contact me. Anger boiled over as he sat down to file for divorce. The process was simple. His details, her name, and irreconcilable differences. He clicked submit, confirming it would process in 24 hours. There's no turning back now. He called his law firm, explaining he needed time off for a family emergency. After packing a suitcase and grabbing important documents, Jake left the house. Unable to stay in a place full of painful reminders, he rented a room in a modest hotel at the edge of town, determined to put some distance between himself and everything. Alone in the hotel room, Jake couldn't escape the reality of what had happened. As a lawyer, he knew how the divorce process worked, but this wasn't just about ending a marriage, it was about taking down Tom and Allison's fraudulent operation. Why hide their dirt, Jake thought. It could work to my advantage. The next day, he met Matt, who was ready to help him gather evidence. You filed for divorce, now let her think you're going easy on her. We need to uncover Tom's corruption, Matt said. We need access to Allison's personal info, emails, bank records, anything that connects her to Tom financially. Jake agreed. I know their weak spots. Keep your cool. No threats. No calls. We don't want to give her ammo in court, Matt warned. That evening, Jake dug through shared documents on the cloud. After sifting through countless messages, he found suspicious emails about a Fund for Support of Social Innovation grant tied to Tom's campaign. It was clear now, Allison wasn't just unfaithful. She was involved in a corrupt scheme to funnel university money into Tom's political campaign. Jake saved the emails and sat back, his mind focused on the next steps. They thought I wouldn't find out, he muttered. He had the proof now. I'll expose everything. The following day, Jake checked in at his law firm. After a few routine cases, he texted Allison. We need to talk about the divorce. Hours later, she replied, asking for time to pack. Jake didn't care. He was focused on the bigger picture, Tom and Allison's ruin. He met with a divorce lawyer who suggested using proof of infidelity to speed up the process. But Jake refused to settle. No settlements, not this time, he said firmly. Back at the hotel, Jake's phone buzzed. It was Matt. Nothing incriminating yet, but I'm watching Tom closely. I've got some details on the university grants. Good, keep going, Jake replied. I need to know everything about him, where he goes, who he talks to. The investigation was just beginning, and Jake was ready. Every moment spent gathering information brought him closer to his goal, taking down the people who had destroyed his life. That evening, Tom texted Jake. "Let's talk. I know you know everything. I need to explain." Jake's anger flared. What a bastard, he thought, but saw an opportunity. "Let's see if he slips up," he replied. "We can meet tomorrow after work." The next night, Tom walked into Jake's office, trying to act casual in a sharp suit, the scent of expensive cologne lingering. "Jake, I'm really sorry," Tom said, closing the door behind him. "About what?" Jake asked coldly. "About everything. Allison and I, it just happened." "Just happened?" Jake scoffed. "A year, Tom. A whole year you were with my wife, pretending to be my friend." Tom sighed, sitting down without waiting for an invitation. "Yeah, it's my fault. No excuses, but there were real feelings between us. We see the world the same way." "Shut up," Jake snapped. "You should have been honest from the start." Tom shifted uncomfortably. "I wanted to avoid a scandal. I need your silence." "My silence?" Jake's voice was icy. "You think you can buy that?" Tom leaned forward. "Look, I'll pay you whatever you want." A public scandal would ruin both of us. Think about it. The wife of a human rights lawyer cheated with a politician. That's humiliating. Jake felt the weight of Tom's manipulation, but pushed it aside. "I'm filing for divorce," he said firmly. "And don't offer me money." "It's not about money," Tom persisted, leaning closer. "I can help with your projects. When I'm a congressman, I can open doors for you." "To hell with your offers," Jake shot back, slamming a folder onto the table. "Get out before I throw you out!" Tom stood, trying to maintain composure. "You're making a mistake. If you want war, you'll get it." Jake pointed at the door. "War it is." As Tom stormed out, Jake's hands shook. He'd resisted physical confrontation, but his anger was building. "The gloves are off," Jake thought, staring at the folder. "He'll try to destroy me, but I won't back down." Then, Jake noticed Tom had left his phone behind. It wasn't locked. "This is a gift," Jake whispered, grabbing it. He scrolled through recent messages and found proof of the affair with Allison and suspicious financial transactions labeled research budget. He screenshot everything, sending it to himself. Let Tom come back for it, Jake thought. By then I'll have everything I need. That night, Jake returned to his hotel, exhausted but with a sense of accomplishment. He had the evidence. The fight would be on his terms. A few days later, Allison responded to the divorce petition accusing Jake of mistreatment and controlling behavior. "What a liar," Jake muttered, shaking with anger. He called her immediately. "What the hell is this?" he demanded. "It's true," Allison replied coldly. "You controlled everything. You wouldn't let me tell you about Tom. You insisted I be home every night." "This is absurd," Jake exhaled. "You know I never interfered with your career." "Let's see what the court thinks," she snapped. "I won't let you take everything." "I never wanted to leave you with nothing," Jake said, his voice tight. "But you're forcing my hand." The call ended, and Jake sat in stunned silence. "She's destroying my reputation," he thought bitterly. Rumors spread online. Clients started distancing themselves. The next day, Jake was scheduled to appear on a talk show as a human rights expert. Just before the broadcast, the host called. "Mr. Reynolds, we've been informed of serious domestic violence charges. We have to suspend your appearance until things are cleared up." "This is ridiculous," Jake snapped. "I understand, but we can't risk it," the host sighed. Jake hung up, feeling his world crumble. His reputation, once solid, was now tainted. He knew this was part of a campaign by Allison and Tom to discredit him. "They won't get away with this," Jake muttered. "I'll expose their lies." He called Matt. "I need your help more than ever. Looks like they've launched a full-scale campaign against me." "I've got something," Matt replied. "Footage of Tom and Allison meeting multiple times at the hotel. I paid an insider to leak it." "Great," Jake said. "But we need more. I have screenshots, but I need concrete evidence. Money transfers, contracts, names." "I'm on it," Matt assured him. "Stay strong." Jake nodded, preparing for the divorce hearing. He gathered evidence to refute the mistreatment claims, ensuring he had testimonies and proof of his nonviolent behavior. His lawyers advised patience, as defamation lawsuits could be risky. Days passed, and the pressure mounted. Old friends avoided him. One former colleague, once a close ally, said, "Sorry, I can't get involved." The bullying didn't break Jake, but it opened his eyes to how easily people are swayed by public opinion. He vowed to see this through, exposing the hypocrisy that had torn his life apart. He continued working on the investigation, meeting with Matt in secret to gather more evidence. Matt reported rumors about an offshore account linked to Tom. "Perfect," Jake said. "I'll follow up." I'm trying to track down who signed the contracts. Could be Linda Morgan or maybe one of Allison's colleagues. If we get her testimony, it's a major win, Jake said, recalling Linda. She once mentioned something seemed off with Allison. She might help us. Jake contacted Linda, and after some hesitation, she agreed to meet at a cafe. Linda confirmed what Jake suspected. Allison had used her connections with Tom to secure large grants for personal gain, and rumors of falsified reports had surfaced. Can you get me in touch with Richard Hunt? Jake asked eagerly. I'll give you his contact, Linda said, but don't mention my name. Afterward, Jake met Matt. I've got a journalist friend, Rachel Black, Jake said. She's willing to write about my side of the story. Is it time for that yet? Matt asked. Not yet, Jake replied. We need all the facts first. Once we have everything, they won't be able to deny it. Matt nodded. I'll keep watching Tom. He's meeting people in closed clubs. Maybe someone can help us. Their investigation continued, and though Jake's life was in turmoil, he was more determined than ever. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about exposing the corruption that had shattered his world. After days of searching, Matt located Richard Hunt, a former university accountant who had left under mysterious circumstances. Richard now lived in a modest house on the outskirts of a nearby city. Jake and Matt visited him in the evening, hoping to avoid attention. Though initially reluctant, Richard grew tense when he saw Matt's detective license and heard the purpose of their visit. Richard confessed that he had left the university because of how the financial reports were manipulated. While he couldn't directly accuse Allison of forging documents, he revealed that her signature appeared on research agreements that were used as cover for funneling money to Tom Kendall's campaign. Richard had kept copies of some documents and was willing to share them in exchange for protection. Jake assured him that he could help, as he was an experienced lawyer who knew how to use the evidence to shield Richard from prosecution. Richard handed over a folder containing payment orders showing large sums of money transferred from university accounts to shell organizations tied to Tom's campaign. Jake recognized Allison's signature on the documents. Although Tom's name didn't appear as a direct signatory, it was listed as a partner in the project. This confirmed that the money was being used for campaign-related activities under the guise of academic research. Jake promised Richard he would help him avoid legal consequences, reassuring him that he wasn't the initiator of the scheme, but a victim of the corrupt system. After leaving Richard's house, Matt and Jake felt confident. They now had the key to exposing Tom and Allison's corruption. They carefully stored the documents in the car and discussed how to release this information in a way that would appear as an independent investigation, not personal revenge. The next step was to work with a journalist, Rachel Black, known for her high-profile revelations. Jake and Matt planned to organize the documents and present them in a clear chronology before contacting her. They knew that exposing Tom's ties to the money transfers and the corruption would deliver a blow to his political career, especially with the elections approaching. As Jake continued his investigation, he struggled with the emotional toll of Allison's betrayal. The woman he had trusted had not only cheated on him, but was also involved in financial corruption. He reflected on how he had been blind to the signs of her double life. One day, Jake went to the house he hadn't entered in weeks to retrieve personal items. Inside, the house felt cold and abandoned, and as he sorted through some mail, he found a letter from an insurance company addressed to Allison. Opening it, he discovered that she had changed her life insurance beneficiary to Tom Kendall instead of him. The realization hit hard. She had planned for Tom to benefit if something happened to her, both emotionally and financially. This discovery would have serious implications for the divorce proceedings. As Jake processed this, he saw Allison's car pull up outside. She had come to pick up her things. When they crossed paths inside, tension flared. Jake confronted her about the insurance change, and she reacted defensively, calling him out for opening her mail. The argument escalated as Jake accused her of using him for her own gain while betraying him with Tom. She responded by claiming he was no better, deflecting responsibility for her actions. Before leaving, she threatened to apply for alimony and half of their property, citing public opinion and the accusations of mistreatment against him. Jake warned her that her lies would eventually come to light, and she would have to answer for everything. Despite the emotional strain, he knew that exposing the truth about her and Tom was his path forward. Without waiting for a response, Jake stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. His heart pounded in his chest, and his head buzzed with tension. He knew the real battle was just beginning, but he was ready to fight until the end. Back at the hotel, he dialed Matt's number. It rang a few times before Matt picked up, his voice sounding distracted. "Matt, I just saw Allison, and—" Jake started. "What happened?" Matt asked. "She's ready to do whatever it takes in court. She's going to accuse me of mistreatment and control, but there's more. She signed over insurance to Tom." Matt paused. "That's evidence of their connection, but it's not going to ruin her. It's small, but it adds to the picture." "I don't have time to waste. We need to get everything to Rachel Black now," Jake urged. "Agreed," Matt said, exhaling. "Let's set it up." Jake knew once they gave Rachel the evidence, the scandal would explode, but it was the only way to stop Allison and Tom's deceit. He wasn't about to let them destroy his life. With the evidence gathered, Jake and Matt prepared to expose the truth, but they had one final step to take before handing everything over to Rachel. They needed to ensure that Tom and Allison couldn't cover their tracks if things went public too soon. Jake knew that once the media got hold of the story, Tom and Allison would do anything to protect themselves, maybe even frame him. That evening, they sat in a car parked near a fancy restaurant where Tom was expected. Matt peered through binoculars, scanning the entrance. "He's probably meeting with sponsors," Matt said, still watching. "If he's raising money for his campaign, he's not worried yet. Maybe he doesn't realize how much dirt we found." Jake nodded. "We need to be careful. This could be more than just a dinner." Moments later, Tom's black car pulled up, and he stepped out with two assistants. Another luxury car arrived shortly after, and two men in suits got out. Matt quickly snapped a few photos with a long-lens camera. "Who are they?" Jake whispered. "Looks like an oil lobbyist," Matt replied, smiling wryly. "Tom's been courting donations for his election campaign. If he's making deals, he's likely promised them something in return." Jake frowned. "Does that mean this corruption is bigger than just the university?" "Probably," Matt said. "If we tie it to money laundering through grants, Tom's in big trouble." They watched as Tom and the others entered the restaurant. Hours passed before they saw Tom leave, shaking hands with his guests and looking satisfied. "That's enough," Matt said, snapping a few more shots. "Now we have the full picture. Tom's taking money from questionable donors and funneling it through university grants. One thread pulls, and the whole mess unravels." Jake's determination grew. "We're going to bring him down. This pyramid of corruption ends now." That night, they worked tirelessly, organizing the evidence. Matt compiled reports, adding photos and dates of meetings with key figures. Jake linked legal documents and phone correspondence, piecing together Tom's web of financial connections. By morning, Matt noticed Jake was barely awake. "Did you sleep at all?" he asked. Jake shook his head. "Every time I close my eyes, I think about Allison and Tom laughing at me, and the lies about domestic violence." He clenched his fists. "I want to release everything now, but we have to wait for the right moment." Matt offered reassurance. "Patience. We're about to shake things up. But we need to make sure Tom and Allison can't escape. When it hits, I can finally put an end to their torment." Jake exhaled, staring out the window as the first light of dawn tinted the sky pink. "I just hope I make it through this storm," he muttered. By evening, they planned to meet with journalist Rachel Black. But first, Matt wanted to recruit a few more witnesses to make the story undeniable. The following day, Jake went to see his lawyer friend, Stanley Coleman, who specialized in political cases. Stanley had always supported Jake, even through the scandal. They sat in a conference room overlooking the city's business district. Stanley skimmed the documents Jake had sent him. "If this is legitimate, we have a case against Kendall for fraud and misuse of public funds. And it looks like Allison was complicit," Stanley said, studying the printouts. Jake nodded. "She signed the reports and funneled money to Tom's campaign." Stanley thought for a moment, drumming his fingers on the table. "We could go straight to the prosecutor, but that might take time. Given Kendall's influence, the case could leak. I suggest making a big public splash first, then going to law enforcement." Jake agreed. "We'll give everything to the press, then contact the prosecutor." Stanley raised an eyebrow. "Just be sure the documents are bulletproof. If they challenge them, we could face defamation charges." Jake looked him in the eye. "I'm 100% sure. These documents are real, and I have reliable sources." Stanley smiled slightly. "Then go ahead. And if anything legal comes up, let me know. You're good at this." Jake appreciated the support, but couldn't shake the feeling that all of this was happening because of the betrayal by those closest to him. After the meeting, he met Matt and headed to see Rachel Black, the journalist. She was in a small, quiet restaurant known for its private booths. Rachel, sharp-eyed and in her mid-30s, was known for breaking major corporate and political scandals. As soon as she saw them, she stood up and shook their hands. "Matt's been telling me about this for a while. I need to verify the material first." "We've got everything," Jake said, laying out a heavy folder. "Photos, documents, translations, witnesses." Rachel scanned the papers, her eyes widening as she read. "If this checks out, this could be one of the biggest scandals in recent years. Kendall's not just a politician. He's been portrayed as a reformer, and now we know the truth." Jake smirked. "Oh, the irony." Rachel looked up. "And the woman in the documents, she's your wife?" "Ex-wife," Jake said, keeping his voice steady. "She was involved with Tom and helped him cover everything up." Rachel paused, then asked, "Is there any personal agenda here? A desire for revenge?" Jake expected the question. He straightened, answering confidently. "Yes, I've been betrayed. But I'm a lawyer, and I've fought for justice my whole life. These people are deceiving the public and stealing from the government. I won't sit back and let it slide, but I won't let my personal pain cloud the truth." Rachel nodded thoughtfully. "Got it. I'm on this. It'll take some time to confirm everything, but I'll write the story and arrange interviews with witnesses. I'll even get TV involved. But I need to get a comment from Kendall first." "Of course," Matt said. "Just don't let anything leak before the article comes out. If it does, they'll destroy the evidence." Rachel smiled. "Don't worry, I can keep a secret. And when the story breaks, there'll be no stopping it." They finalized the details, and Jake felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The plan was in motion. No matter what came next, he was ready. After the meeting, Matt patted Jake on the back. "Nice work, man. Big step. Things are about to move." "Yeah," Jake nodded, inhaling the evening air. "Now we just need to keep our heads when everything blows up." He felt a mix of anger and anticipation. It wouldn't be easy, but he now had a clear plan. Wait for the media to break the story, then take it to court. Maybe then he'd feel like his life was back on track. While Rachel gathered evidence for her investigation, Matt kept tailing Tom. He hoped to uncover proof that Tom wasn't just misusing university funds, but also taking bribes. But soon, Matt realized he was being watched. One evening, as he left a meeting with a potential witness, he noticed a black SUV following him in his rearview mirror. It wasn't getting any closer or falling behind. When he turned into an alley, the SUV did the same, keeping its distance. "Great," Matt muttered. "Looks like Tom's people know what I'm up to." He quickly called Jake. "Hey, we've got trouble." "They're following me," Matt said. "If they find the materials or contact Richard, we're screwed." "Crap, what should we do?" "I'll try to shake them, but you need to be ready. If they catch me, call Rachel. Have her publish the article right away. We have nothing left to lose." Matt took a few turns to confuse them, then merged onto a busy highway, weaving through traffic. The SUV stuck around for a while, but eventually, it disappeared. "Matt?" Jake asked anxiously. "I'm clear for now," Matt sighed into the phone. "But Tom's definitely onto us." "Be careful," Jake replied, relief in his voice. "I don't want to lose you or all this work." The chase made them both realize how quickly things could spiral out of control. Time wasn't on their side. Tom and Allison could strike first. Jake knew the truth would protect them, but in politics, truth often got buried by manipulation. The next day, Jake met with Rachel. They decided to go ahead and publish the article in a few days to take the initiative. Rachel wanted to interview Richard Hunt, the key witness, if he agreed to speak anonymously. Jake met Richard and explained that his testimony was crucial to avoid the article being dismissed as biased. Richard was terrified at first. "You want me to confess publicly? They'll liquidate my family." "Richard," Jake said softly, "I get how you feel. But if we don't get the public's attention, Tom will silence it. If you speak anonymously, it'll add weight to the story. What if they figure out it's me? We'll protect you. The media will back you. No one will risk hurting a witness who's got this much attention." After some hesitation, Richard agreed to speak to Rachel. They gave him a pseudonym and planned to alter his appearance for the interview to protect his identity. With Richard's testimony, the pieces were in place. Now they just had to wait for the right moment. But Jake was still troubled. The divorce case was heating up. Allison, through her lawyers, was painting herself as a victim of mistreatment. The judge was going to hear both sides. And Jake knew, without hard evidence, it would be tough for him. Public opinion was already swayed in Allison's favor. The day before the hearing, Jake received an anonymous text. "Drop it, or your reputation's ruined. Do you think people will forget your anger?" So it begins, Jake thought grimly. But he wasn't backing down. He was ready to risk everything to expose Tom and Allison. Later that evening, Jake returned to his hotel. Stepping inside, he was hit by a wave of longing for a home that was no longer his. Memories of when Allison had seemed like a true partner felt distant now, replaced by lies and betrayal. He turned on the TV and stumbled upon a political show where experts were discussing the upcoming elections. Then Tom appeared on the screen, smiling as he talked about education reform and family values. Jake clenched his fist. "It's coming, Tom. You won't get away with this." The weight was unbearable. In the dim light of his room, Jake felt the weight of loneliness and the pressure of the fight ahead. The burden of revenge and public scrutiny was overwhelming, but he pushed it down, telling himself, "I'm a lawyer. I know the rules. I must stay focused. Weakness is their advantage." But inside, he longed for comfort, for someone to lean on. The friends he'd once had turned away, and new connections hadn't yet been made. A few months ago, he never would have imagined his life would be upended like this. Clenching his fists, he snapped himself back into focus. "No time for self-pity," he told himself. "The work isn't done." The next morning, the divorce hearing began at the courthouse. The room, usually reserved for routine cases, was crowded today with reporters hoping to get a statement from Jake. Allison was already there, sitting with her lawyer, a sharp-suited woman. Allison's expression was cold as she looked at Jake briefly without greeting him. "Mr. Reynolds," his lawyer Tina called, "we're ready, but remember, things may get ugly today. Stay calm and stick to the facts." "I understand," Jake muttered. When they entered the courtroom, the judge, a sharp-eyed woman with glasses, asked both parties to identify themselves. Allison's lawyer quickly stated that she wanted to limit contact with Jake due to allegations of mistreatment. "That's a lie, Your Honor," Tina responded calmly. "We'll present evidence that these accusations are unfounded." "We have testimonies from family friends," Allison's lawyer shot back, "who witnessed Mr. Reynolds yell at and insult my client in public." "Raising your voice isn't domestic violence," the judge remarked, raising an eyebrow. Then Allison spoke, her voice trembling. "Your Honor, I was too afraid to go to the police. He's a powerful lawyer. I thought he would ruin my career. He wanted me to be the perfect wife, and when I started to make progress in my career, he got angry." Jake clenched his fists, trying to hold his anger in check. He knew she was manipulating the narrative, twisting the facts in her favor. When it was his turn, he spoke up, his voice steady. "Your Honor, I respect my wife's work. I never stopped her from pursuing her career. But the reason we're divorcing is her affair with my now ex-best friend. I have proof, texts, photos, and documents." Allison's lawyer immediately interjected. "Your Honor, we're discussing domestic violence, and he's bringing up infidelity. Does infidelity justify mistreatment?" Jake retorted. "I didn't mistreat her. I never hit her. Yes, I was angry when I found out about the betrayal, but I never raised my hand against her." The judge banged her gavel. "Order in the court. We'll examine both the allegations of violence and the accusations of infidelity. I want to see the evidence." Tina then presented printouts of emails, texts, and hotel photos from Matt. The judge skimmed them, her face unreadable. "While this is morally relevant, it's not legally significant," she said. "Adultery may affect alimony, but it's not a crime. As for the mistreatment claims, we need more concrete evidence." "We'll provide more from Allison's witnesses," said her lawyer. "People saw his aggressive behavior." But the judge raised questions about the reliability of these witnesses, many of whom were tied to Tom's circle. The judge postponed the decision, ordering more investigation. The next hearing was scheduled, but no one knew how the case would play out. After the meeting, Jake stepped into the hallway and saw Allison speaking to reporters, her voice dripping with drama as she described her terrible marriage and her husband's oppressive behavior. As soon as they spotted Jake, the journalists rushed to him, bombarding him with questions. "Mr. Reynolds, do you deny your wife's accusations of mistreatment? Is this her attempt to avoid responsibility for her affair? Your colleagues say your reputation is slipping." Jake raised his hand to quiet them. "I've already addressed this in court. Her accusations are baseless. We're in the middle of a divorce and the truth will come out." "How about the rumors that you're preparing an expose on Tom Kendall?" The question caught him off guard. Clearly, the leaks had begun. Jake's heart raced, but he knew revealing too much now was dangerous. "No comment," he said firmly, brushing past the reporters and heading for the exit. He noticed Allison watching him, her gaze a mix of contempt and fear. She must have realized that things were about to shift in a way she hadn't expected. We're close now, Jake thought, as he got into his car. He could only hope that the investigation with Matt wouldn't fall apart at the last moment. 3 days later, which felt like a lifetime, Jake's phone rang in the middle of the night. It was Rachel Black. "I know it's late, but I've got urgent news," she said, her voice buzzing with excitement. "I'm releasing the article tomorrow. I've got the interview recording documents, and we've verified everything through independent sources. It's all set." Jake sat up, flicking on the light to clear his head. What's the reaction going to be? I think it's going to be massive. Tom won't see it coming, especially with the election so close. I'll make the announcement in the morning, and the full article will go live by lunchtime. The media will pick it up right away. Got it. I'm ready if you need anything else. As they wrapped up the conversation, Jake felt a mix of nervous energy and anticipation. The revenge was almost ready to unfold. Rachel confirmed the plan. The material would go out simultaneously with a video report, where Richard Hunt's interview would be encrypted for anonymity. She'd also included a legal review to make sure the seriousness of the situation was clear to readers. In just hours, Tom's carefully crafted image would take a serious hit. But Jake couldn't sleep. His mind raced, wondering how everything would play out. Would Tom try to sue for slander? There was enough evidence to back them up, but the tension in Jake's chest was suffocating. When morning came, his phone exploded with notifications. He rushed to the news site and saw the headline: "University corruption, Kendall under fire. Affair with professor and money laundering exposed." Here it is, Jake thought, his heart pounding. The article detailed internal documents, a pseudonymous witness describing the money flow, and dropped hints about the link between Tom and Professor E. Reynolds. At the end of the article, the reporter mentioned that Kendall's team declined to comment. Just then, his phone rang. It was Matt. "Did you see it? It's going viral." Matt's voice crackled with excitement. "This is huge!" Jake smiled involuntarily. "I saw it. Now we just wait for the fallout." By lunchtime, news channels were buzzing about the scandal. Experts were stunned. Social media exploded with reactions, some supporting Kendall, others outraged. The hashtag Kendall corruption shot to the top. Tom stayed quiet for hours, finally releasing a brief statement in the evening, calling the article a smear campaign from those trying to sabotage his election. But as journalists dug deeper, they uncovered strange university grants, and students began coming forward about mismanaged funds. The public was no longer buying Tom's defense. Allison's name also surfaced, though there was no official confirmation of her involvement yet. The university announced an internal investigation, and Allison's lectures were mysteriously canceled. Jake realized that both Tom and Allison were about to lose everything. It's not over yet, Jake thought grimly, watching the news. This is just the beginning. The whirlwind of emotions inside him was confusing. He was glad the truth was finally out, but there was also a deep sadness. Just days ago, Allison had been his wife and Tom his friend. Now everything was falling apart, and it was his doing. But he couldn't afford to feel sorry for them. They'd started this fire, and now they'd have to face the consequences. "Let's see who comes out of this alive," he muttered bitterly, turning off the TV. The next morning, Jake was woken by a loud knock at his door. Still groggy, he opened it, half expecting hotel staff, but found Allison standing there, pale and tear-streaked. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. Jake stepped aside. It was 5 a.m., and they both knew this wasn't a simple visit. She sat down on a chair, holding her head in her hands. She was in jeans and a sweater, no makeup, looking like she hadn't slept in days. "You did this, didn't you?" she finally asked. "What do you mean?" Jake asked, though he knew exactly what she meant. "The article, the investigation. I know this is your doing, or Matt's." She was shaking, her anger or exhaustion evident. "Are you trying to destroy us?" "You did that yourself, Allison," Jake replied, his voice steady, though everything inside him was tight with emotion. "I just showed everyone the truth about how you deceived people and stole money under the guise of research." "I didn't want to steal," she pleaded, tears filling her eyes. "I believed in those projects. I trusted Tom, but now it's all coming down on me." "Didn't Tom deceive you too?" "Maybe he did," she admitted, but her voice trembled with guilt. Jake couldn't help the bitterness in his voice. "But you signed those papers, Allison. You made those choices." She collapsed into her hands, crying. I don't know how to fix this. I've already been suspended from my lectures. The students are turning on me. I'm going to lose everything. Jake's heart twisted. He still saw the woman he loved in her, but he knew this was her mess to own. You destroyed everything that connected us, Jake said flatly. She looked up suddenly, desperate. Take it back, Jake. You can fix this. Tell them the articles are lies. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. Jake shook his head. I'm not a journalist. People saw what you were doing, and I won't cover for you. The truth is out now, and I can't stop it. She hissed through her tears. I hate you. You're ruthless. Always have been. Now I see you just want to destroy me. You're contradicting yourself. First, you said I didn't care about you. Now I'm ruthless. It doesn't matter anymore, Allison. I'm just a man who wasn't willing to be made a fool of. Jake stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. Go. You wanted freedom. Now you have it. She stood, paused, as if hoping for something more, but then lowered her gaze and left. Jake closed the door behind her, shaking. No matter how hard he tried to be cold and unfeeling, a part of him still remembered the love they once had. But there was no turning back. The truth had been exposed, and now it was up to her and Tom to face the consequences. Jake had made his choice, and he didn't regret it. A week after the explosive publication, things escalated quickly. The prosecutor's office launched an official investigation into Tom Kendall, potentially leading to criminal charges based on the facts revealed in the articles. The political world erupted. Some called for Kendall to drop out of the race, while others claimed it was a politically motivated attack. Tom appeared on TV, denying all allegations and accusing his critics of fabricating lies. Meanwhile, the evidence against him continued to grow. The most surprising moment for Jake came when a prosecutor, Anthony Stark, showed up at his office. We know you handed over key documents to the media, Anthony said, sitting across from Jake. Thank you for cooperating, but we need to know where you got these materials. Jake was prepared. I'm representing a university employee who wanted to remain anonymous. He provided some documents. The rest came from public sources. Anthony raised an eyebrow. If criminal proceedings are opened, you may have to reveal your source. I'll cooperate fully, but I must protect my client, Jake replied firmly. Anthony nodded. Your documents appear solid. We'll dig deeper into Kendall's involvement. But why are you doing this? You're going against your wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, Jake corrected him. I was betrayed, Jake said, pausing, but I'm also fighting against the corruption that ruins public trust in justice. I couldn't stay silent. Anthony gave him a reserved nod. Prepare yourself, there'll be dirty attacks coming your way. After Anthony left, Jake realized the situation had moved beyond personal revenge. This was now a national issue. While it was daunting, it gave him confidence. Tom and Allison's chances of hiding were slipping away. A few days later, the divorce hearing resumed. This time, the judge seemed more aware of the scandal surrounding Allison. Jake's lawyer, Tina McGuire, presented documents proving Allison had been suspended from the university for misconduct, weakening her case for alimony or property division. Allison looked defeated. She no longer had the same confidence and didn't attempt to claim mistreatment. Her lawyer tried to argue that Allison's emotional distress was due to media slander, but the judge wasn't swayed. Given the new developments, we need to reconsider the property division, the judge stated. Mrs. Reynolds may be involved in illegal activities, which affects her financial stability. Jake replied, I'm not asking for her to be homeless, but I won't pay alimony. She had a job and chose to get involved in fraud. The judge postponed her decision, setting another hearing date. It was clear that Allison's position had weakened. No one was sympathizing with her anymore. After the hearing, Jake crossed paths with Allison in the hallway. She looked even more lost than before. She opened her mouth to speak, but Jake walked past her, pretending not to notice. There was too much deceit between them now for any meaningful conversation. Meanwhile, the media frenzy over Tom's scandal continued. Former employees from his campaign headquarters began speaking out, claiming they were paid to stay silent about questionable funding sources. The storm was only growing. Tom, feeling the heat, held a press conference to defend himself. Standing in front of a campaign poster, he dismissed the allegations as baseless attacks. I'm innocent, he claimed. This is all a political smear campaign. My lawyers are filing a defamation lawsuit. But when a reporter asked about his relationship with Allison Reynolds, Tom froze. We only discussed a social project, he said, sweating. I can't be responsible for her actions. So you deny a romantic involvement? The reporter pressed. I'm married. These rumors are just dirty lies, Tom muttered, his voice unconvincing. Jake turned off the TV, disgusted. Tom's denial was hollow. The evidence was too strong, and with the prosecutor's office now involved, simple lies wouldn't hold up. The pressure was mounting. Tom was soon summoned to give official testimony, and the press camped outside the building, waiting for his arrival. Kendall walked into the prosecutor's office, his confident smile now replaced with uncertainty. At the same time, the university launched its own internal investigation. The rector called an emergency meeting to discuss findings that large grants were linked to Kendall's campaign. Allison, as project manager, was directly responsible for the mismanagement. Though the official report hadn't been released, everyone knew the truth. When Allison tried to enter her office, the security guard politely told her to leave, citing the ongoing investigation. She was suspended. The scandal had consumed both the political and academic spheres. Jake watched it unfold, a sense of grim satisfaction settling over him. This was what he had wanted. But why did it still feel so hollow? It was hard to ignore the fact that Allison had once been his wife, his partner. Yet, after everything, the lies, the betrayal, he knew there was no turning back. 2 weeks passed, filled with nonstop events. The fallout continued to spiral. A week after the article's release, things took a dramatic turn. The prosecutor's office opened a criminal investigation into Tom Kendall for fraud involving public funds. This news shocked his supporters, who had held out hope until the last minute for a miracle that would save his reputation. But with mounting evidence, including Richard Hunt's testimony and other key documents, Tom couldn't escape the pressure. Forced to step down from the election race, his political career collapsed. The media was buzzing. Scandal-plagued candidate Tom Kendall withdraws amid corruption allegations. Voters felt betrayed as their once promising political star was exposed as a fraud. Tom's nightmare had only begun. He hired an army of lawyers, but as the trial neared, it became clear his web of connections was far more complex than anyone realized. Lobbyists, fake companies, and the affair with Allison all came to light. The undeniable proof, including saved phone messages, made it impossible for Tom to continue his lies. He could only deflect blame and search for excuses. Allison wasn't spared either. The university fired her for a breach of trust, with the rector publicly stating that no faculty member could misuse their position for personal gain. Allison faced legal consequences as well, as her involvement in falsifying documents became clear. But the prosecutor's office held off on pressing charges until the final investigation concluded. Allison's career was in ruins. The scandal reached its peak when footage from a hotel security camera leaked, showing Tom and Allison meeting with an unknown person. Although the video didn't show explicit content, it was enough to confirm their intimate relationship. Jake knew Matt was behind the leak, and it soon spread across tabloids. The public was outraged to discover that their champion of progressive values had been nothing more than a hypocrite. Watching it all unfold, Jake felt a mix of satisfaction and emptiness. He had destroyed the careers of his wife and his former friend, but did it bring him happiness? He realized that while revenge gave him a brief rush, it wasn't enough. As Tom and Allison's lives crumbled, Jake felt no joy, only exhaustion and the weight of the emotional toll. On the eve of the final divorce hearing, Jake sat in his hotel room, staring out at the rain-soaked streets. What now? He had ruined their lives, but would it give him back what he had lost? Trust? Peace of mind? It seemed the only thing left to do was finalize the divorce and move forward, though Jake had no clear direction in mind. The day of the hearing arrived. The courtroom was tense. Allison arrived, barely supported by anyone, as her reputation had crumbled. Jake, accompanied by his lawyer Tina McGuire, stood ready. The judge quickly addressed the formalities. Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds, we've reviewed the circumstances, infidelity, unsubstantiated accusations of violence, and the financial situation. Mrs. Reynolds' suspension from her job and involvement in a corruption scandal are also factors. The divorce is granted. The house and assets remain with Mr. Reynolds. No alimony for Mrs. Reynolds. The judge's words felt less like a victory and more like a final, fair conclusion to everything. Jake watched Allison's face tighten as the verdict was read. She had lost everything: her career, her reputation, and any chance of financial support. After the hearing, they crossed paths in the hallway. Allison, now a shadow of the confident woman she once was, stopped him. "Well, congratulations," she said quietly, her voice tinged with bitterness. You won. Jake looked at her and responded, "We both lost, Allison." He saw no trace of the woman he once loved, just a person broken by her choices. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she said softly. "I just wanted to thank you for the good times." "Goodbye," Jake replied, walking away, ready to leave it all behind. Walking out of the courthouse, Jake breathed deeply, feeling the weight of the last few months lift slightly. Divorce, revenge, and scandal were behind him. Now it was time to move forward, though he had no idea what that future held. Jake decided to sell the house, a place filled with too many painful memories. He invested the proceeds into creating a free legal service for others who had experienced betrayal or corruption. He rented a small office and began building a team of volunteer lawyers passionate about helping those in need. When a colleague questioned if it would be profitable, Jake smiled. "It's not about profit," he said. "I want to make things better. If I can reduce the pain and injustice in the world, that will be enough for me." Months passed, and things started to improve. Clients came to Jake with various issues: employer disputes, domestic violence, media slander. He no longer felt just like a lawyer, but like someone who had lived through these struggles and could truly understand his client's pain. Meanwhile, Tom and Allison's lives unraveled further. Tom struck a deal with investigators to reduce his sentence, but he lost his political future and reputation. Allison struggled to find a job, with every university rejecting her. The threat of criminal charges still loomed over her, and she faced investigations into her involvement in the corruption scheme. Her fate was now in her hands. Either she would try to redeem herself or fade into obscurity. Jake, though still alone, finally found inner peace. The intense pain he had felt after the betrayal was gone. He learned to look forward to the future with hope rather than bitterness. While he wasn't rushing into love again, he knew that someday, when his heart was healed, he might try again. The scandal surrounding Tom and Allison eventually faded, but its impact on the public was lasting. People saw how easily success could be destroyed by lies and deceit. Jake's story became a reminder that truth and justice often triumph over manipulation and hypocrisy. As Jake stood outside his new office, looking at the sign "Jacob Reynolds Legal Advice, Free Help to Those in Need," he smiled. He had come a long way from the lawyer who once believed in loyalty and justice. Now, after betrayal, disappointment, and revenge, he was stronger, ready for the next chapter. The wind brushed against his hair as he took a deep breath, feeling that freedom and peace were the greatest gifts life had given him. There were no more heroes or villains. Life simply went on, and Jake had a whole future ahead of him, ready to find new meaning and maybe one day, new love.